Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stover. Tonight, Tuesday Live will focus on the aftermath of the 2023 off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states. How it started, how the exercise was conducted and how it ended. I'll be joined by some analysts. But first, before we get into the discussion, let's get to see this report put together by political correspondent Mie Ogidi.
Like a journey, the three off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states ended, but one more river to cross, that is court litigations, from aggrieved political parties or candidates. From the campaigns to the peace accords down to the ballot, indeed was a long walk to victory. 52 candidates contested, but only 3, as expected, won. Ododo of Kogi, Hope of Imo, and Doidiri of Bayelsa State. Now, the elections are over. Political parties back to their shells. Time to review and come out stronger next year for the Ondo and Edo contest. But INEC thinks there is a lot of challenge before the political parties if Nigeria electoral system must get it right.
Political parties acting individually or collectively through the Inter-Party Advisory Council IPAC also have an obligation to impress on your members, candidates and supporters to maintain the peace during the campaign rallies and procession. I urge you to also appeal to them to maintain the same disposition on election day and beyond.
The blame not only for the political parties.
To reaffirm citizens' confidence, INEC must continue to demonstrate impartiality, transparency, and a commitment to conducting free, fair, and credible elections. This is not only a moral imperative, but a necessary step towards preserving the integrity of our democratic process.
The political parties, however, agreed there are Judas within.
80% of declared election results have had to be resolved through tribunals and court processes. From our study, this ugly development is directly attributable to the quality of agents representing political parties at the polling units and collection centers. These agents are mostly poorly trained, easily compromised, or outright fraudsters, who in some instances would not even submit to the party or the candidate the Form EC8 issued by INEC and signed by all the relevant stakeholders at the conclusion of the exercise at the polling units. The ERMS will minimize or eliminate the menace of the agents and other representatives of political parties in the process. For the first time, political parties will be guaranteed effective monitoring and control of the activities of their representatives and other stakeholders in the handling of the election results from the polling units, collection centers, up to declaration of the results by INEC, the only authority in line with 2022 Electoral Act with powers to announce winners of elections.
Be that as it may, some lessons from the 3 off-cycle polls left much to be desired. Voters turned out very poor and discouraging. The experience in Kogi State, where some result sheets were pre-filled, not a motivating side, and most annoying was electoral violence. A case in point was the kidnapping of SPO in Bayelsa State. When will this ugly political culture be addressed? Many will always make the consoling remark that Nigeria's democracy is nascent or growing. Maybe all this will end when it matures. Maybe. Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
All right. That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let me welcome our guests. We're joined by a very regular face on this program and on NTA, matter of fact, Ezenwa Wagu. He's Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform. Thanks for having you join us again.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Right, good. We're also here tonight with Engineer Kailani Mohammed. He's DG of the Confederation of APC Support Groups. Engineer Kailani Mohammed, it's good to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians.
Right. We're also joined tonight by Dr. Saleh Momali. He's the Executive Vice Chairman of Kaduna State Peace Commission. He joins us from our Jos studio. It's good to see you tonight.
Good evening, and good evening, Nigerians.
All right, thank you very much. This is NTA Tuesday Live, so you know at some point in time it gets interactive. It means you can join the discussion in the studio. But when we get to that part of the program, we'll remind you of the process and the procedure. Back here in the studio, let's begin to look at the issues concerning the just concluded off-cycle elections in the three states of Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Let's start off with you, Ezewa Wagu. You were in touch with the whole process, and we'd like to get your thoughts on everything that happened.
Well, it can't be everything. It can't be everything. We would only take them bit by bit. We'll look at how the different stakeholders, after the rehearsals for the D-Day, we want to see whether intentions manifested into reality. So you, of course, at the topmost of this stakeholder pyramid is INEC. It's opened the polls fairly okay in Kogi and Bayelsa. Well, with a 27%, 29% time of 8:30 in Imo. That punctuality margin is poor. Though as things went on, it improved. But so opening of the polls, 88% in Kogi and Bayelsa were heartwarming. They were relatively okay. The being in the ointment became that disgusting pre-filling of results in Kogi, which of course INEC itself admitted, and my hope is that people will be punished, and manifestly so, because the challenge with us is, like we kept on saying there, is consequence management. People do things and get away with it. I can't fathom how it is possible that an election that is yet to be conducted, people would, and there are local governments that this has happened, the electoral officers in charge of those local governments will have to answer, because they do have vicarious liability. So opening of the polls, and then the whole challenge also about accreditation and voting. But luckily again, the Beavers came to the rescue as for voting and accreditation. All the reports that we have indicates that the Beavers did well in terms of what its function is, which is the ensuring that voter identification theft is minimized. The big issue always is this upload of results, which there are indications in several places where observers have reported that there are issues with that. But the big challenge for me in that conversation always is that it resonates with our continued interests in technology. But there is not a lot of talk about the role of party agents. And I thought that Engineer Yabajisani, the chairman of IPAC, had said that they would have a remedy for that. But from observer report and participants report, that is the politicians themselves, it was clear that the party agents didn't live up to the billing. And so once the party agents don't live up to the billing, then you make IRF the scapegoat.
All right. So, okay, we'll take that for the time being, but we'll come back to examine other aspects of the elections. You just talked about the opening of polls, and good enough. Let's start on that premise. Kelani Mohammed.
Well, Rezo has said it all. But the report from the NTA reporter said we always talk about our nascent democracy. Definitely we have to talk about it. We are 63 years old. America got it right over 200 years. So as we are moving, we are learning. We are learning from the processes, and we believe one day we shall be there. There is no election all over the world that is perfect. No. You must have problems here and there. Even in America, after the elections, Trump went, he was challenging. Even he took some people to go and burn some places. So, for me, the report we got from the field during the election proper, the report was that it was credible, fair. And even when I was on NTA today, I said it all, update. So, all I want to tell Nigerians, whether beavers or uploading, he said it. Our communication system in Nigeria is not perfect. There are rural areas, you don't even have generators. The satellites are not working there. So you cannot upload properly. But what we have on ground, I'm happy APC has won the Imo State. We sent our people around 184,000 polling units, 900. Izenwa got 27 states, Abuja local governments. In Kogi, it was true. In the morning, it was reported that due to transportation problem, over 200 electoral officers could not reach the destinations where they're supposed to go and there conduct an election. But later in the afternoon, they reported again everything was okay. So what I want to say is that elections have come and gone. We are all Nigerians. All we need to do, if those people who contested and lost are really with the people, all they need to do now is to come and key in. They must have mutual understanding with those that won election. There must be synergy to move Nigeria forward, or to move those states forward. In America and developed clients, that is what is obtained. After elections, you will see that during electioneering campaign, they will be saying all sorts of things. At the end of the election, they will come together. What they are after is the national interest or the state interest. I think it will be better that way. But they are talking about litigations. If they want to go to court, we have courts. Let them go to court. There should be no violence. We don't want people to cause trouble. The courts are there to determine whether those that won election didn't win it. So I believe we are good to go.
All right, we'll return to some of the issues. Well, let's go back to Jos and Lincoln with Dr. Saleh Momale, Executive Vice Chairman of Kaduna State Peace Commission. Dr. Momale, let's hear your thoughts on the 3 off-cycle elections. Impressions of the just concluded 3 off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states.
Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing this very topical issue. Like you already said, and in the background, democratic process, one of the major pillars that anchor it is elections. Once elections are not credible, once elections are not accepted by the populations, it creates a lot of dent in the entire democratic process. And that's why a lot of attention have to be focused on the election processes. During the national elections, that is countrywide, the Independent National Electoral Commission is seriously stretched, and we recognize some of the limitations and challenges. But in off-cycle elections like the one we have, which covers fewer geographic areas and entities, and in this case 3 states, we expect to see a more and greater level of attention and performance from all the players that are involved. And in this case, we are speaking about basically the Independent National Electoral Commission, which is the umpire, the political parties, and the citizenry who express and demonstrate their unwillingness to cast votes to the various contestants within these elections. So when we are going to judge and analyze the election process over this period, we have to look at the 3. What has the electoral umpire done and achieved? What have the political parties done and achieved? And then the citizenry, how have they responded? And I think these are the critical issues that we have to work on, especially learning from these off-cycle elections. For some of us that do not live in these 3 states, we were critically following the process, observing the activities, the actions, and the statements of all the players so that we can have lessons. Because like just Engineer Kailani just said, our major interest is that these elections should be peaceful. And like Dr. Todd earlier said, and as well as in the background statement from your report, elections have to involve the electoral umpire, which is transparent, which is acceptable and credible, as well as the political parties playing their own role. So I think looking at this tree within these off-cycle elections, we can see successes that have been recorded. To congratulate the citizens of these 3 states, notwithstanding the challenges and issues and the fears that have been expressed. The elections have been the elections have given out our outcomes, and we have now known the winners from this process. I think this is kudos to all the parties. However, there were issues, which the earlier speakers as well as the background report has pointed out. And these are off-cycle elections, like we earlier said, within only 3 states. So if we can have these challenges in only 3 states, it means that we still have a lot to do to make the national elections much more transparent, much participatory, and with our citizens playing greater roles. So we have to focus on the electoral umpire, the political parties, and the citizenry. And of course, the other key players that help within this democratic process, the role of the media, the role of the security institutions, and the role of other public and civil society organizations that come together to contribute this process. So we have made some credible achievements, but there are huge challenges which we have to discuss and which we have to find ways of addressing them. I think trying to justify that we still have a nascent democracy is, for now, not a justifiable reason. I think we have had a long way, we have gone a long process, technology is available to us, our citizens are available to us, and our political parties and the electoral umpire should mature enough at this stage to give us sound, credible, and highly participatory elections in this country.
Right, thank you so much. We'll return to you because you've just taken us to the next level of this discussion. Yes, so many may have judged that it was successful. We didn't witness the kind of violence that people feared would happen, but there was still some element of violence, as it were. And, you know, the thing they say is, even one incident is too many, and that happened. And we still had cases where people tried to manipulate the system to circumvent laid down regulations, and they still happen. We also had poor turnout. And so when politicians talk about the people have spoken, some other people say, hang on a moment, let's look at the population and let's look at the number of registered voters and those who turn up to participate in elections. So let's begin to look at these.
Well, I'll start from the end point where you concluded. The thing is that if you don't vote, if you don't come out to vote, you have voted. You did vote. You only just did not vote for what you want. So not voting can be a protest. It's also participation. You could be protesting something. Okay, so that's a part. But the challenge is that when politicians talk about nascent democracy and how that should become an anesthesia to cover all the lack of progress in terms of how we deepen and grow this democracy. And my argument always is that the politicians, their candidates, the political class, are the only ones who have been the drawback, the reversal for progress in terms of how we move forward. Look at all the issues that are playing out for the off-cycle election. If you want to compartmentalize them and give percentages to them, for INEC, you would do maybe 20%. The remaining 60 goes to politicians and 20 to security agents. The 60%, how in the world will you get to the point where, for instance, if we talk about late opening of polls, we know what the challenges are. Our environment, our infrastructure, the topography of the 3 states where you're running elections are challenging and testy. So we can understand that. Where you have to go with boats, 12, one capsized, and all the rest of them. So those are institutional, infrastructural challenges that the electoral management body confronts. But how do you explain that politicians will connive with this? Do I say disgruntled? INEC officials to release that result sheet and pre-fill it, in spite of all the efforts that has been made to incrementally improve elections through the Electoral Act and through the intrusion of, technology. So it is simply saying that they are still in the old school, they are still in that old place where, in spite of everything that we are doing, they are still working to undermine and subvert all the progress that is being made. So for me, there is nothing nascent. If we have done 20-something years of democracy, part of what America will teach us, part of other good examples that we can bring, is to improve our own process and not to learn the things that they do wrong. We have the benefit of their own experience to learn from. So the challenge of because the 2020, all those can't, it's not holding water anymore. Part of the lessons to learn is that we need to put the feet of the political class on the fire and not allow them to explain away these shenanigans that we saw, that devalues us and diminish all the effort that is being made to improve our elections. And when you say violence, who are the purveyors of violence? Who are the purveyors of violence? The issues that marred this election across the 3 states is the issue of vote trading. In many of the states, what you had was option A4. It was option A4, you vote and you show. And there is no shame about it. That's the challenge. Now there is no shame. People collected, in my state, for instance, Imo State, people got as much as 5,000 naira and they are boasting about it. It's not that they are telling you, so we voted, we took the money. And it's not a function of one political party or the other. When I say option A4, it is you vote, you show. If you voted for this party, you show them that you voted for them, you go and write your name in a register, and then if you voted for this party, you show the amount varied. But whether it is one naira you collected here or you collected 5 naira here, the crimes that are committed are electoral crimes. And there are people who have responsibility to make sure that this doesn't happen. They took a sit-down-look attitude. The security agents, they watch this drama go on. So yes, you can be winning elections, but these victories are victories that you cannot legitimately hold on to and say, look, I won fair and square. Because of the transactions that took place. Well, it delegitimizes this process.
Well, it's interesting you say that this happened in the full and the presence of those who should put a stop to it. But again, how does that reflect on the guidelines which say unless the officials there, in this case the presiding officer or the INEC official, calls in the security agents? How do you know? Because people have spoken about this so many times and say, look, what system are we running that you say someone who otherwise is empowered by both the act and the law to prevent crime now takes a back seat until a third party says, hey,
come in,
a crime is happening here, come in.
Those are red herrings. They're just excuses that, lame excuses that does not impact the process. I've said on this platform, and I will repeat it again, the most powerful person in this country is the Inspector General of Police. Aside the president and the vice president, and the governors who have immunity, who Section 308 covers, the IG can arrest anybody, can arrest the chief of defense staff, the chief of army staff, chief of naval staff. He can arrest them and explain later by the powers conferred on him by the Police Act. So I just gave that example for you to understand the power of the policeman. So when he abdicates that responsibility and hides under a specialized, electoral act says, the guidelines says, a crime is being committed. Vote buying, vote trading is an electoral act. But the way these ones were conducted now makes it also difficult because it's the disingenuous way of the political class. They have taken it away. So the buying and selling is no longer taking place in the polling unit. The buying and selling is that you vote, you show, you walk to a place and write your name in a register.
That was in Imo State.
And the money will be, the money will be paid to you. This method is for Imo State. But the other states have their own method. They have their own method. What is important is not the method. What is important is the shameful act of voter inducement and how that impacts on governance, because that's where the issue is. You see, people are excited. Most of what you see in terms of voter what do you call it? The number of people who came out eventually to participate had something to do in the early hours of the morning. You saw that people rushed out. In many places where they were disappointed that the monies were not coming out, they left.
Okay.
So many times we just simply interpreted that, you saw a mad rush in the early. So the challenge is that until there is a stakeholder approach to ensuring that we have free, fair, credible election, we have an election that is not very free, not very credible, okay? Because what makes it credible is not peace. It's not peace. Peace is important. But there are different other elements that can make you boast as a winner of an election and say, look, I won this election. But when it is that I bought it, because whether he says this publicly or not, he knows he bought that victory.
Okay, we'll come back to you. But Engineer Kilani Mohammed, yes, still along these lines, it means that virtually all the three parties are complicit in this. The political class, the electorate, and even the
security agency.
Exactly.
Yes. Mr. Ezenwa, Rome wasn't built in a day. And I believe we are just rushing to be there. One day we shall be there. All these irregularities we are talking about, vote buying, ballot box snatching, violence at the polling units, it will be a thing of the past as we proceed. Well, let me tell you, during this exercise that you are saying that Some people will go and vote. They will show that they have voted for a particular candidate and they will give them money. Did you record it? That's number one. We want to know. So that you will follow it up. We will follow it up for you. We are Nigerians and we want the right thing to be done. For me, in Imo State, the report we received from the field, nobody told me that while they were voting, some people came, gave them money, or they induced them. That's number one. Number two, the voters' apathy that you are talking about only happened somewhere in Kogi State. And it was not much, because we are also following up the trend of events. So the off-cycle election, we cannot sit here and continue to cast aspersions or denigrating the process. All we need to do, as I said earlier, we are not yet perfect. Nigeria is still a baby. It's a baby. We will be there one day. Let us collect all these irregularities and work on it. There should be a blueprint so that one day Nigeria will get to the promised land. Violence, we know some stakeholders, is a do or die affair. All they want, whether they are good, whether the electorate want to vote for them or not, they want to be there, they want to win election, they will dish out money. In some cases, they give out drugs to even the youth. Politicians normally do that. They give out drugs, they give them dangerous weapons, so that they will chase away people, snatch the ballot boxes. Yes, but that is just by the way. We know it. The issue of the security agencies, that very law that Sistoba mentioned, in the court of law, you are saying that when a law says this, and you want to counter that law, when you go to the court of law, you'll be in for it. That's why the security agencies have to wait, unless they are invited by the agents or the electoral officers that come and...
There's an interesting angle. In fact, there's an interesting angle to raise, which someone has raised. And I think it makes sense to lay it on the table. Okay, it says unless the presiding officer, whoever invites the policeman.
That is it.
Would you assume, for instance, and I'm not saying this happened.
Yes.
Would you assume that if, for instance, right there, with security agents right there at the point, somebody comes and strangles and kills somebody right there, it would all mean, no, we will not move until the electoral officer says, please, someone is being killed here.
This is a different issue. This one is on election. Somebody...
No, I mean at a polling...
That is what I mean, at the polling point.
Engineer Kilani, there is...
Wait, let me land first. At the polling unit, this is the law guiding the election.
All right. Okay.
But somebody came, killed, he has to be arrested. That is murder in the process of the election. There are two things, different things entirely.
Engineer Kilani, you can't, just one moment. You are not able to make that distinction. And the reason why it is so is the architecture of election security is very clear. Okay? Understanding it helps you to appreciate why we think that some of these crimes that are committed. Now, whether it's murder or vote trading is by itself incremental murder. And I'll explain to you. If, for instance, somebody, you have an unarmed policeman here, or an armed security agent, as the law says, 300 meters away, there is an armed security person. On the outer layer of it, you have the military. Now, the idea of this is that through the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, is that if a crime is being committed here, if this unarmed man can't do anything about it, he will call these folks here. These folks will come and intervene. The sit-down-look attitude
of the security
is complicity. And you see, you are asking us to pet these matters, that we should pet it because we are young, we're a young democracy, we are growing, we will get there. What you do is that you give comfort. You are providing comfort to people who have responsibility, taxpayers' money, to do a particular work, and they don't do it. Because of what? The legacy of political electoral infamy that your party inherited.
Yeah.
It is not doing anything to ensure that there is a change in that way, because if the kind of advice that people receive is that, oh, we are growing, we will not get there by petting, we will not get there by just papering over them things, except we push the political class to do something, do what Yar'Adua did, President Yar'Adua did. What did President Yar'Adua do? President Yar'Adua came to power and said, look, the process that brought me to
was
flawed.
Yes.
Can we have a conversation? And
Yes.
then Justice Ways Commission was instituted. But what we have now is a political class that lives in denial, that is constantly in denial.
What I want to tell him, let's say Mr. Stober, he wants things to get right. We can still amend all those electoral laws.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, all this, we need political education.
Right.
It's very, very important, enlightenment. We will continue to do. That's why I say we must get there one day.
Okay.
When people are enlightened, all these things will not be there.
Okay, let's bring in Dr. Salih Momale into the conversation at this time. I'm sure he's been following every bit of it we have here in Abuja. Yes, let's hear you, particularly on this issue of when something is going wrong right there at the polling station, and those who have responsibility to nip it in the bud have to wait because a guideline says until you are invited. And so some people have asked, what if it's the person who should invite you who's perpetrated it? Would he say to you, come get me, I'm breaking the law?
Thank you so much. I think it's quite a very interesting issue to discuss. But first of all, we need to recognize one very important thing, that elections are civil processes. And respecting that civil process and allowing citizens to come in without any form of fear or intimidation to cast their votes is at the center of the election process. And I think because of the challenges of insecurity and the threat of violence, that is the only reason why security personnel are deployed. But if as citizens, as political parties, we can guarantee that we will hold that election process in the most civil of all manners, without any threat of intimidation by any political party, an act of violence by any thuggery group, or by another criminal groups, there is no need to deploy police to voting or polling units. So its deployment of security agencies is a necessity because of these challenges that we are facing. Of course, I agree that it is the responsibility of these security agencies to take the responsibility of observing in the most civil manner the process to ensure that it does not infringe the regulations. But certainly they have limits to which they can interfere because of the likelihood that at the end of the day, they will be held accountable or responsible for even the failure of the entire election process, because the policeman came and he was intimidating me. The presiding officer may say, okay, we won't do this election because the police that has been posted here is intimidating me because he's not allowing us to do one or two things we want to do. So the 12th of that voting in that particular polling unit might be attributed to the security agent that is there if he is not highly tactical in dealing with this challenge. So I think we need to recognize this. The second aspect is the aspects of the peaceful conduct of that process. It is at the center of that civil process. Unless those elections are violent-free, we cannot record those elections, and the credibility of those elections may be challenged. I agree with Engineer Kailani. Yes, for example, we have recorded some progress. Ballot snatching is no longer what it used to be in 1999, 2003, 2007. You hear very little reportage of ballot boxing. Snatching of ballot boxes at polling stations, taking over and tearing of election results. All of these things, we are now having a reduction in these incidences, which is a positive progress. The second aspect is with respect to this vote buying. Again, in the previous years, people would come with their money in their bags, in their handbags, and they will stand by one side, and people will be coming and they will be giving them. Now, from the analysis of Mr. Ezenwa, at least there is a little fear or a little, let me say, some level of dignity where the people will, with the money, go and hide somewhere. The voters pass through them. They take some money, they write some certain things, they make some certain assurances, and then they show somebody, maybe the agent of that party, who is seated there, so that he can verify that, yes, I saw when Mr. X voted for us, so you can give him the money. So at least it's a little bit progress to what was happening in the past, where the money was being brought to the polling units.
Right.
But fundamentally, I think the issues are three, like I say. First of all, INEC must work very hard to begin to see how are we going to overcome these challenges. Electronic voting is an option that we have to begin to explore, where people will just cast their votes electronically, where these results will directly go into our servers. I don't know how that process will work. The issue again of oversight over the political parties and ensuring that all those provisions in the INEC Act to reprimand candidates and political parties that violates the law during elections, let us even start during primaries, during election campaigns, on the election days, and even in the post-election period, unless these are being enforced, we may not be able to see a change in the attitudes of some of the political parties. Again, INEC must work on its personnel. I would have expected that in off-cycle elections like this, INEC will be able to deploy its own employed staff to these states, so that those challenges we see with ad hoc staff might be overcome. So in terms of training, in terms of capacity, in terms of logistic arrangements for the distribution, collation, and processing of election results, INEC must work on these things very, very seriously and overcome all of these challenges that make elections incredible and give candidates and political parties the opportunity to exploit the process. At the level of the political parties, they must mature. They must put in processes where their candidates, where the selection processes, the primaries, are very transparent, and put also mechanisms for checking excesses of their own members. Unless we do that, political parties will continue to wallow in these challenges, with candidates shifting from one party to another, these people that are just chasing electoral victories, but without developing sound party values and democratic cultures within the priority objectives of political parties. And of course, Mr. Ezenwa mentioned this about huge voter education and enlightenment of the citizenry. Here, the media must come on board, civil society organizations, and of course, all of the Nigerian people. We really need to come to the time when we will say, no longer can our conscience be bought, no longer can we vote for money, but we will vote for candidates we believe will deliver democratic dividends.
All right, let's come to the issue of political education. And all this we hear all the time about enlightenment. The electorate have to be educated. And so who takes responsibility for the enlightenment of the politicians themselves? One, because we always see, especially during elections, we see that even those the political parties deploy as their agents, they know little or nothing about the process. Now, is that also the responsibility of INEC? Whose responsibility is that?
See, you know, the investment, Uncle Cyril, that we have made in this process gets you to the point of frustration. We are talking about enlightenment. My argument always is that what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with ignorance or we are dealing with mischief? If it is ignorance we are dealing with, then we can enlighten, and then you get outcomes from your enlightenment. But if you are dealing with mischief, intentionality of that mischief, then you are going to not change anything. Let me tell you, party agents, parties who don't have agents, in the true sense of being an agent of a principal, is that not so? You are an agent of a principal that you have organic relationship with. The relationship with the party agent is transactional. What do I mean? Party A, party B, party C. They come and they are settled. The agent of a political party is settled. Because I don't want to do an academic conversation. I've stopped doing that. If the idea is to make change, then we have to put it back how it is. The parties don't have agents. That is why they don't talk about the results. Uncle Sri, there is a form EC8A, which is filled manually.
Yes.
And given to your party agent. In all the conversations you are going to hear, nobody will talk about what my agent said. My agent brought, my agent, everybody is talking about IREV. Oh, the upload, that one is an endpoint. What did your agent say? Were your agent chased away from the polling unit? Did they have, what is your agent report? If you tell me that my agents, the results they have presented does not match what is uploaded, I'll be listening. We are not taking that time to build a party system that responds to the outcomes that we are looking for. What you see is market. There's a market. In that market, everybody that comes there is coming for gain and profit, and not the deeper interest of our collective. So, you finished an election. You cannot give me the report of your agents. You are talking to me about something that INEC put for itself. INEC did not put that for you. INEC put that in up for itself to check the credibility of his own processes.
So where is your agent?
Where is the place of your agent? That conversation, no matter how you try to hold it, the politicians will sidestep it. They will want you to sidestep it. They don't want that conversation. Why? Because the political class in their disingenuous capabilities want to shift attention from their own inadequacies. We have oversighted this INEC to the point where at least there is a shift in terms of internal governance mechanisms within that structure. But within the political class, there is no concomitant response from them for a change. And every attempt you make to push this in the front burner of conversation is resisted by a combination of the kind of media that we also run. A media that is influenced majorly, in great extent, by this same political class. So, by that very action, they set an agenda that does not further this kind of conversation that we are talking about. So the agenda always is INEC. If you invite me here now, what did INEC? You are not going to ask me, what did the politicians? How did they behave? So we take all the time to discuss a process that we already know. That what they will do is that an INEC official comes there, you either use a gun or you use money to make him do what he does not want to do. This INEC official who was kidnapped in Bayelsa is a child of somebody. Is a human being. Kidnapped by who? Would the security agents tell us? Yes, he was rescued. But who kidnapped him?
They are investigating it.
When in this world are we going to get the result of that investigation?
Investigated. Yes.
So these are the
So if, for instance, you let us know that this man was kidnapped by so and so person, it becomes, but is the impunities that is good, that guy will probably have been tortured, beaten, the child of somebody by a political class that does not want, and we are not going to have that conversation. Okay? So the ballot box gets to the most interior part of this country. No matter what you do, INEC will take its ballot papers to the most interior, no matter what time it gets there. That effort, that sacrifice is devalued by our comments. We devalue that whole energy, that whole effort that is put to make sure that the ballot box gets there. The politician goes there through collusion, sabotages all the efforts that we have put, and then we just let it lie low. So the change for me will come when you have a political class that is honest, interested in, first and foremost, looking at itself. Dr. Sally talked about the process, the internal governance mechanisms within the political parties, the fluidity of movement, where you can't even say this person is a member of this political party. You can't honestly say, because by the time you are saying that in the morning, in the evening, he has spotted.
So who takes responsibility for
the responsibility and enlightenment? You asked that question. Sorry,
you diverted.
Sorry, I'm coming to it. The enlightenment part of it. I just told you which one are you dealing with.
Right.
Do you have a cure for mischief?
Yes.
What is the cure for mischief? Enlightenment? No. The cure for mischief is sanctions and punishment. Enlightenment is going on. There is civil society invests so much in civic and political education, which is not actually the political parties that also should have a component of political education are vote-catching machines.
So this is what we're
and
putting
the CSOs too are part of the fraud.
Yes, but what
that is going on now?
No, the thing here now is what do political parties do clearly to carry out enlightenment and education of their own members and their own representatives? This is the question that is asked all the time.
Yes. You see, before I delve into that, he mentioned about mischief, he mentioned about
ignorance.
The ignorance. They go together. Somebody can be mischievous. When you enlighten him, continue to enlighten him, continue to give him that education. One day, tell him the bad side of what he's doing, how it affects the people. One day he's going to leave it. Ignorance, he doesn't know it. He's not educationally vibrant. You need to tell him, go and do this, that, for the betterment of the society. He will do it. That is education. So let me tell you, you see, socialization entails normal human interactions that takes place on a daily basis. This is where the norms, values, and cultures of the society are transmitted from one generation to another. And that is education, from infant level to adulthood. By the time you do that, as our children are coming up today, you continue to imbibe the spirit of what he is saying about what is happening in our political process. They will now be sound when they assume something in the society. They will know that this is bad, this is wrong. I mean, the issue of the political, the question you asked about what are the political parties doing, I know of my own APC. There's a machinery, the mechanism that on ground for internet democracy. What is causing all these things are, the other time we had a breakfast show with you, I was in Kaduna. I remember Mr. Ezra, I was the same engineer Kalani. You remember? On NTA. I'm not Mr. Ezra.
Yes.
Yes, I was in Kaduna.
Okay, you were in Kaduna.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The same man.
The one that we.
Thank you. So
I was blowing that.
that internet democracy is needed to actually, as he said, credibility. It starts from the primaries. When governors will go and make their own list after primaries are conducted in the during congresses, they will change the list. People now will become aggrieved. They will do whatever they want to do, so that nothing will work well for INEC, for the party itself, and the people.
Is that part of the learning process too?
It's part of learning. So we need to continue to educate our people, like what these governors are doing. It's not proper, and we can continue to tell them, let there be credible elections right from the ward level to the local government to the state. INEC also has the responsibility to educate. They have a media section that's supposed to enlighten the people. The parties also have. By the time we move seriously to make sure that these media outfits are working, and then they place adverts also in other media houses like NTA and radio houses and the rest, and to be translated in our local languages. It's not anybody that can speak English.
Okay.
So enlightenment is very important. Political education process is now ongoing in APC. He is talking about other parties. Me, I know of APC. APC has been doing creditably well to see that the party members are enlightened, most especially with this new chairman that we have now, Laji Ganduje. So, we shall be there, Mr. Ezinwa. You see all these things you are saying, irregularities,
all right, we'll take
whatnot.
We'll take a break here. When we return, the phone lines will be open and you can join in the conversation. So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
All right, Thanks for staying with us. It's NTA Tuesday Live. We're reviewing the matter of the just concluded 3 off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. At this segment, the phone lines, as we promised, would be open. You can join in the conversation. We always remind you every Tuesday that if you call it in, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And we encourage you to go straight to the point. We ask you not to bother too much about the greetings. Just a mere hello will do. And so we'll start off with one report we have here coming in from Lokoja.
The results of the governorship election in Kogi State have been declared, bringing an end to a long and arduous journey for the electorate, political parties and other stakeholders involved in the process. Like every other exercise, participants are already reviewing the process. The off-cycle election has been described as one of the most peaceful in recent years, marking a rare milestone in the state. However, it was far from perfect.
We had around 40-45% turnout, so it showed that there was some kind of mobilization from the citizens' perspective. A lot of the logistic issues that bedeviled INEC in the previous elections seem to have been handled better this time around.
44,000 security personnel, including the army, the civil defense, the police, that were deployed to Kogi State just for an off-cycle election. So I believe that all of this is in a bid to checkmate, those crises, those election violence.
Cases of vote buying and electoral malpractices marred what could have been an electoral template in Nigeria.
Work needs to be done in the area of INEC because we had records of result sheets that were already filled even before election started.
Issues of vote buying, issues of hate speech, issues of campaign violence to some extent that become a part of our daily electoral cycle consistently.
The ethnic polarization of the state was also glaring.
We have a divided Kogi State where everybody, the eastern part are saying this is our own. The western part are saying this is our own. The central are saying this is our own. We can't get to where we can build Kogi State with that mentality, with that ideology.
Elections in Nigeria can indeed be peaceful if all hands on deck. In Lokoja, Jonathan Omajali.
All right, that report from Lokoja. And well, at this point in time, we're being joined by Engineer Yaba Gisani, who is Chairman, Interparty Advisory Council of Nigeria. He joins us via Zoom from Kano. Good to see you. Right, we missed you at the early part of this conversation. We were going to find out from you your thoughts about the off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Quickly, in a nutshell, what would you say about the conduct of those elections which just ended?
Well, Cindy, thank you for having me. I believe that we as a nation, we are doing our best as far as entrenching democracy is concerned. And I believe the challenges we are having are largely human. And these are challenges that I believe with time we're going to get rid of them because they are not helping the process itself. It is not as if we don't have the technology to do what we should do. It's not as if we don't have the regulatory agency, that is INEC, that knows what to do. It is just that the attitude of an average Nigerian towards issues that have to do with governance in this country. We seem to take it for granted that we can get away with anything at all. And that has to change. How do we change it? Like we have said time without number, we have to build institutions. We have to have rule of law, and we have to have peace. And the institutions, like I said, are there, but they are not
really living up to expectation. The issues that characterize these 3 off-season elections are that of ourselves, issues of vote buying, issues of people taking advantage of our own people because of poverty, ignorance, and what have you. So I believe that blame game should stop. That is why we at IPAC, what we are trying to do is to see how do we ensure that it is not only INEC that has the facilities, if I may use the word, that's the technology, to declare, to determine the elections themselves. Because each time, we just say INEC, and that INEC has not, from the perspective of many Nigerians, has not changed, to the satisfaction of Nigerians. So IPAC, meaning political parties that are the key, players here, we have to step up to the plate. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to also introduce technology so that at the polling unit, we can now be able to get the results, fed into our own system too, so that, yes, we cannot declare the results because that belongs to INEC by the Constitution, but we can at least have the results of the polling units that we can tender, and that will be incontrovertible because it will be what INEC itself has already established. So I think when we have a situation where the information is not the monopoly of one person or one player in the electoral the process itself, it may solve some of these problems we are talking about.
Okay.
It's just attitude. It's attitudinal. What is happening, and it's about we Nigerians. It's not just INEC. So we cannot continue to blame just the agency all the time. Okay. The institution, like I said, judiciary also has a lot to do. So, and the judiciary will have to step up to the plate too if you have incontrovertible evidence of votes that take place at the polling unit, and you're able to produce those outcome that you can show that this is what has happened.
All right.
Problems we are having today is at the collation, okay, where the votes are added together. So we're trying to see how we can address that. Right. So I think we have to show, we have to change, amend the Electoral Act, like people have said, and also show that we also can be a player, key players who are in control of the system as it is.
All right, thank you so much. We already have callers on the line. I think we have Mustafa calling in from Maiduguri. Mustafa, hello. Is Mustafa there with us? Hello, Mustafa.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
My name is Dr. Ali Mustafa. So I have been participating in political activities since 1979 to date. And I have been election official, the party official at every level of the election. So in fact, the problem here is not INEC, not the security agents or the politicians. The problem is with the electorate. The electorate themselves, if you don't go there with money, they don't come out. Some people will come out with their card, stay there, and go back home without voting. It is all over the country. So, they are waiting for someone who will give them money. They are always thinking about inducement rather than electing the credible person. This is what is happening in at the voting center. And the issue of this corruption at the election center, the police is not fully given right to enforce law there, because in the Electoral Act, they said that it is the presiding officer is the chief authority officer there. He has to tell the police, arrest this man, then he will arrest. But he will not volunteer to just do something. It is the presiding officer who has every power to do this. So, in fact, there is a serious inadequacy. So the only option I think would be good is that for the religious leaders to come out and preach to the people that what is happening is not right. So it is only the religious leaders, because even INEC goes out to campaign that people should do this. People don't listen to that. Or even the politicians, they say that you just don't want to spend money. That is why you are telling us that we should not collect money from you. So, in fact, if the religious leaders come out and help the situation, then we will come out from this problem. But as long as the electorates are concerned, majority of them, not all of them anyway, majority of them is concerned, they are looking for money. Their vote is for Naira. So that is my submission.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa. Thank you. Let's link up with Dr. Salim Omali in our Just studio. Well, you heard the man just now that he would think the problem is with the electorate. The people themselves, they're asking to be mobilized in order to vote. People come out, and that would, align a little bit with what Ezewa had said earlier on, that people come out and when they see that the mobilization is not flowing, they go back. But when it starts coming out, there's a rush.
I think that's a very critical and challenging issue for a country that aspires to develop its democracy. We must find ways of changing the doctrines in the minds of our citizens, of changing the values, of inculcating these sound democratic values, that democratic elections are not about immediate benefit to myself. It is about what we contribute to the process that will lead to sound nation building. I'll just quickly, when we are speaking about enlightenment, ignorance that we were speaking about, I will just give you two very quick examples. For example, in Kaduna State, in the build-up to the 2023 elections, there were high threats of thuggery by many of the youth gangs that we had within Kaduna Metropolis, Zaria, and Kafanchan, which are our major metropolitan centers, but especially in Kaduna and Zaria. We sat with the youths. What are your grievances? In 2019, political candidates came to us with promises. If you elect us, we will do A, B, C, and D for you. We elected some of them. They have been there. They have not satisfied their promises. We are waiting for them. During these campaigns, we won't allow them to campaign. We said, okay, is this the challenge? Yes. Now, what role do you play during their campaigns? They said they used to call us, we organize our members, we join them, we shout, we escort them for political campaigns. We said, okay, change your tactics. Let us give you some new ideas. What you are doing is you are contributing to the campaign process of the candidates. You are mobilizing supporters to follow them, to chant and shout their names, and to help them in creating, very excellent campaign events. So you are providing services to them. So rather than them using you as political thugs, become well-organized service providers that are supporting political campaigns. So reorganize yourself, restructure yourself, create a network within the whole of Kaduna and Zaria so that you are communicating with all the groups amongst yourselves, and then benefit from the political process. Let them pay you for your services which you are giving to them during these political campaigns. And they said, oh, this is an excellent idea. So they restructured, they organized, and we had a violent-free campaign period. And even the election process was violent-free. So these are some of the things we are talking about. In terms of the second quick examples I want to make is with respect even to the candidates and the political parties. And we saw it also in Imo, in Kogi, where the higher level people are bringing them to sign agreements for peaceful conduct. What we did in Kaduna is to set up a monitoring group that ensured, with especially the Interparty Advisory Council, it played a very prominent role. Our religious leaders, like he mentioned, and the media, we come together and put a campaign monitoring group that held the politicians accountable during campaigns.
And we'll take in this call, and then you can return and conclude on that. Ezekiel calling in from Lagos. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Quickly, I have a lot to contribute.
Right.
Because I have seen a lot happen in this Nigeria, more than so many people. I say more than so many people. Because at the age of 19, in 1959, I was a polling agent. So let me leave that aside. I want to talk about vote buying. To buttress the point of the man that said we shall get there. Yes, it's a common language, and if we really serious in every sphere of life, we shall get there. If government can try to sensitize people, you will start from the layman, vulnerable, hotel guests who never listen to.
Hello, Ezekiel. Oh dear, sorry about that. We were just getting to the bit where it was getting interesting. Anyway, if you can, do call us back and we'll return to you. So let's get back to Dr. Salim Omali. He was telling us about what they did in Kaduna State to sensitize the electorate. Yes.
Yeah, like I said, when we get this campaign monitoring group, we were able to hold the political parties and the candidates that are carrying out the political campaigns accountable. And I think this is what we have to do. When we engage the citizens, those that are looking for money to cast their votes, by the time we continue with these grassroots interventions, grassroots engagements and awareness creation, it's not just only about mischief, but it's also about the values which people imbibe within themselves. And if we can be able to get these political parties, hold them accountable through the combined actions of our media practitioners, our religious leaders, and some of the law enforcement institutions to work together with our civil society groups, I am sure we will be able to get political parties accountable. And if we are able to hold them accountable and again get our citizens to collectively say that we are going to vote according to our conscience, these two aspects will help transforming our election process and make our elections more credible. And again, once we have this formidable platform, the electoral empire like INEC had no option than to be transparent and efficient.
Back to Engineer Yabagi Sani, and what I want to put across to you, IPAC chairman, is what I'll ask both Engineer Kailani Mohammed and Zewa Wagu to comment on, and this is straightforward and simple. Do the political class, the Nigerian politicians themselves, do they have confidence in the process and the institutions that manage our elections? I'm asking this because it has become usual. Elections are held. The winners always praise the system. Oh, it's good. The electoral umpire has done well. INEC has performed. The losers, oh, there were all kinds of shady practices. There was a collision with INEC. There was something, and this cuts across parties. The last off-cycle elections proved clearly that this is happening. The APC won in Imo and Kogi states. They praised the system. The other parties said everything was wrong with it. The PDP won in Bayelsa, and the APC said everything is wrong about it. So do the politicians have any kind of confidence in the system that they themselves are part of?
Well, I think to a very large extent, yes, because the politicians have confidence in the process. What, like I was saying, is that process, which is a constitutional process, meaning that it has a legal framework, and that legal framework itself, has defects. And of course, human nature is not only the politicians, but even the other actors involved, are taking advantage of that, the shortcomings of the law itself, as to, especially, I kept talking about the collation. Collation, it is those who count the votes that really determine who wins, especially in a situation where you have, the underlying conditions in this country, which is poverty, ignorance. So the politicians have confidence. The politicians are trying to see what we can do in order to make the system, the process, and the legal framework itself to be something that is credible, that you can rely upon, something that nobody can manipulate, easily. The process you have today, the legal framework you have today, is easily manipulated, by almost everybody that is involved. So it is not about the politicians themselves alone. It's about all of us together. And the only way we can get it right is when you have a law, that is credible, that cannot be manipulated, that you can rely on. A situation where people are allowed to influence, what comes out of the result. That's why you find cases of people saying when it favors them, they say, "Oh, the law has." INEC has performed wonderfully. The court, the election was free and fair. It's because it's so subjective. We have to accept that. It's not about the politicians. It's about the system itself. It's so subjective as it is today. If we can go take a step further from the beavers, and then the beaver is game changer, we have situations where the beavers themselves have been bypassed, in terms of the results that have been brought out. So it is not so much about the politicians. It's so much about all of us involved. How do we ensure that you have a system that lives up to the expectation? You have judiciary that when things go wrong, they will really, deliver judgments that, can be adjudged to be fair. So these are the things. That's why we talk about strong institutions. We talk about rule of law. We talk about, peace in order to have an election that will produce what we want. Today that Electoral Act has a lot of loopholes, that been exploited, by all of us. So this is why we are saying we must revisit that Electoral Act. We must ensure that you have laws that can serve the people, and you be able to, you believe in what the law, what the process gives out. It's not so much about the politician, really. It's human nature. When you create loopholes, people take advantage of it. We are saying there are loopholes in this law. It's not us, politicians in particular.
Okay. When I win, it's fair.
It's the politicians.
When I lose,
the politicians, Engineer Yabaji's territorial is protecting the territory and is understanding. So I don't have a beef with that. But let's face it, who makes the law? Who are those who make the law? Who are those who leave the loopholes in the law? The politicians. Who are those in your National Assembly? For you to go to the National Assembly, you need the vehicle of the political party. And by the use of that political vehicle, you become a politician. So you create loopholes, deliberate loopholes, that you would manipulate. Who appoints the judiciary? the politicians. So this whole absorbing of a constituency that we know are the A, B, C, D of the challenges that we have in our political system. And until we face it, it's a mirror issue. It's a real mirror issue.
Okay, let me just ask you to hang on a while. Is this call coming in from Kano? Fever, do we have the name correctly? Hello. Hello. Are you with us? Just to be clear, is the name Fever actually? Are you calling in from Kano?
Hello.
Yes, hello. If you can hear me, we just want to be certain. Please turn down the volume of your TV set. If you can hear me, we just want to be certain. If we have your name correctly, Fever calling in from Kano, is that you? All right, I think you just go ahead.
Our current leadership recruitment process comes through the political parties. There's no running from that. So, if we get this right, then we get everything.
Why does it always seem that when we lose, the system...
No, that one is a natural tendency of... See, it's not only that the system, it is God. God gave them the victory.
Okay.
So even if they committed crimes and got the victory, sometimes they don't even talk about the people. They say God. It was God who gave the victory, which is okay. But the point is, if the conversation is about change, if it's about improving the process, the INEC is appointed, the national commissioners, INEC chairman, everybody is appointed by the politician. Okay? So when you want to change that law, you have to go to where the politicians are domiciled. When you get there in the treadmill of lawmaking, the place that is given to contribution from outside the National Assembly is very small, public hearing. And that public hearing has been restricted by insecurity. Access to the National Assembly is vented by insecurity. So even that small place where people can make contribution is limited. So what needs to happen is for Engineer Yabaji, and he's doing a great job in IPAC, is to say, look, first of all, like the conversation is having now about having, their own parallel vote tabulation. But that parallel vote tabulation will depend on a party that has party agents. So if the parties don't have agents, your PVT, your parallel vote tabulation will be suspect. Because what the challenge is, and like I said before he joined, is that you have parties that do not truly have what you can call agents. And he admitted that in one of the places where he has made. So what to do is to first have party members and use those party members as agents. As far as you source your agents and pay them and have a transactional relationship with them, you cannot have the kind of outcome that you are looking for. And luckily, he was in Liberia. He saw party agents. These guys are party members. The commitment they show to the process is not transactional.
Okay, let's get this call in from Jos if we can. Charles calling in. Hello, Charles.
Hello, good evening, sir. Good morning.
Yes, go right ahead, please. And do turn down the volume of your TV. I can hear the hurlback.
Good morning. Yes, go right ahead. Yeah, without good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, NTA. Without taking much of your time, I would like to chip in this.
Yes, go ahead.
And I came across this program now, and I think let me chip in this a little bit. You see, one of the major problems we have in this country is the politicians, especially the lawmakers. These are the people that make the laws. These are the people that are still the same politicians. And these are the same people that we have to plead with based on the Constitution and so on to reform this Constitution. Now, if we go down to INEC, I don't know about any other person's opinion, but my own personal opinion, INEC is not independent. I am not interested in a political party that won or the one that did not win. But what I'm interested in INEC is everything that is supposed to be done in INEC ought to be transparent. For Nigerians to see. When political parties, the ones that have won, will say, yes, it's okay, it's a merit, and the other ones that lost will say, no, there is a rigging, there is something going on, this one, it didn't work out, or this worked out. No. To me, personally, INEC is not independent. INEC ought to be independent. When we mean independent, strictly independent, if you go down to their constitution, most of the things that are being written down in their constitution give them completely power to do whatever they want to do without checks and balances. This is where the problem is, and this is why we keep having this issue in this country up to tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you. Okay, so just as we were
I didn't understand. In one way, you want them to be independent. In one way, you want the checks and balances. And INEC does not have a constitution. INEC is a creation of the constitution. And in reality, when people say INEC is not transparent, I really wonder what it is. This INEC has shifted the needle quite a bit in terms of how it conducts election. It has introduced technology to take away voter identification theft through the beavers, and it has worked. And all of us have agreed that it has worked. It's also instituted what it calls the IREV, where at the end of the manual process, you can have a cross-check. All that are integrity lifting issues. The challenge is the intrusion, extraneous intrusion, that manipulates its officials and makes them subvert these processes. And within INEC, what we need to strengthen is sanctions. And they started that at some point where INEC officials were taken away from just interdiction and internal issues, and they were taken to court. And some of them are still being tried in court for offenses that they committed during elections. That is an institution that itself is ready for change. But the politicians check all the activities. When you bring this, they start studying to undermine it.
All right. And like Alhaji Mohammed, I win, it's all good. You lose, there's trouble. Oh, it's not all good. Why does that cut across?
Mr. Cyril Stoba, I'm so memorized by the way Mr. Ezrima is talking, and all some of these. We are all Nigerians. All these subjugations of these negativities to politicians, INEC, it's Nigerian made, it's Nigerian factor.
Okay.
The efficacy and the dexterity to get things right in this country, I said it before, it has to come through nationalism and patriotism. It's lacking in this country. The bane of what is happening today, all are guilty. You cannot say politicians are guilty. or the INEC is guilty. Everybody, Nigerian factor. Mr. Nzewa, I believe.
Yes, just one moment. Let's try and get this call in, and then you continue. Elijah from Kaduna, hello. Are you there? Hello, Elijah.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yes, go ahead. You called in to contribute to this discussion. Go right ahead.
I've been listening to your discussion, and it's very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right? Okay, fine. Just go ahead.
But I would like to ask, the problem we're having in the Nigerian election is we're having the INEC. The problem we're having
All right, Elijah, we don't have all morning to wait for you.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yeah, you called in to contribute, to either ask a question, and you're not doing that. So I'm afraid we've got to move on, except, of course, you want to go right ahead and ask your question or make the comment.
Yeah, there's a break in communication. I'm coming on. I said what I'm saying is the problem we're having in the Nigerian election is we have the INEC and the judiciary. Mm-hmm. The problem here is the INEC, we don't have election in Nigeria. Secondly, the second speaker that said they used to organize, they organize from program in Kaduna. I'm based in Kaduna. We know what happened in Kaduna election. We know from the beginning to the end. I was in Kaduna. So you should look, anything they organize in the election, the people that have the upper hand buy all these people that say we organize this, they buy them up. So they should not just stand on the media and be talking what they don't believe, what is not obtainable. In Kaduna, I was in Kaduna from the beginning to the end. We know what happened in Kaduna. We know what obtained in Kaduna. They should allow the sleeping dog lies, please.
Okay.
They should not stop saying that we organize this and the media do this, they do that, they do this. Please, they should allow the sleeping dog lies. Thank you.
All right, Elijah, thank you very much. Yes, just
carry on. Mr. Elijah, I think what our man just said is nothing but the truth. We are the original indigents of Kaduna. And I contested for governorship in Kaduna in 2007. And we know the rudiments and what has been on ground. So I think what he said is true. The Togri, the issue of meeting religious leaders and the rest of it, I think it was done. And you don't need to come on NTA or on the air like this to castigate somebody who has said the truth. So that be. The issue of patriotism and nationalism in this country must come to the forefront. All of us, almost everybody is guilty. Indiscipline, I mentioned it the other day, is the bane of what we have today. Corruption, ethnic nationalism, tribalism, armed robbery, theft, nepotism. All these things are under indiscipline. And until Nigerians believe that all these societies are there, Nigerian factor, if you go to any ministry now, you want to do something, they'll say, bring money. You need to bribe to get your own rights. So all of us, I'm not saying all, almost all are guilty.
When people make such demands, why don't you refuse?
There are places, if you refuse, you won't get what you want. That is it. So we need to go back to the drawing board and know that Nigeria belongs to all of us. We don't have any other place apart from this country. And we have to make Nigeria great. You can't blame politicians. You can't blame even the market, the traders. Look at what is happening today. You go to the market, something is sold 10,000 today. Tomorrow, when you go, they will tell you 15,000. And it's a Nigerian.
Is that the entire fault of the trader, or there are other factors that could have led to that?
That's why I'm telling you, it's Nigeria factor. What is the fault of the trader? You cannot sell something 10,000 today and sell it 15,000 tomorrow. It's because, and that's why this government is trying to introduce back price control board. We need to do that. When we are in Mila with you, it was there. It was there. That's why when something goes up today in Nigeria, it doesn't come up again. It comes down. We are Nigerians. I don't know what is happening. This mentality. So let us go back to drawing board and love this country. I said it the other day, Mr. Ezinwa. I said I should not call you Mr. Ezinwa. An American citizen, Mr. Christopher, can die holding America's flag because he believes in his country. What of we here? So we need to make amends through the patriotism and nationalism, and that can be introduced in our schools right from primary school level. Introduce it. These are our children that are coming. They should believe in this country. I mentioned it the other day, we can also use religion to get what we want. Mr. Sistoba, if I'm interested as a Muslim with a position, and I know one day I will be answerable to my Creator when I die, I think I will do that thing to the best of my knowledge to make sure that I do the right thing.
Well, but this has always been canvassed. But you do know that those who have thrown the country into the doldrums were very religious people who took oaths, who swore on their holy books, and yet they did the wrong thing.
I think those are not correct religious people.
Okay.
Yes. By the time you know and you fear your Almighty, you will do the right thing.
How about enforcement of measures, of sanctions?
And that is why, as Alhaji Abagi mentioned, our institutions must be concretized in this country.
Okay.
Institutions.
All right.
So that when somebody comes, after this one leaves, another one that comes in will meet those laws. And he cannot go operate outside those laws. It's now lacking in this country. So don't blame politicians. As I contested, the electorate will follow me from one angle to the other. They collect money from me. They will jump to the other politician, collect money. They will even swear to the Quran and Bible. So I think there is a big problem which is all about indiscipline.
Okay. Well, we're about rounding up, so let's go. Let's go off the well. It's good that you're saying that you've been through it yourself.
Yes.
So let's go over to Dr. Salim Omale in Jos and quickly get his closing comments on these issues, and perhaps give him the right of reply from the last comments by our last caller.
I'll reply for him.
Right. Thank you very much. I think I will start from where Engineer Kailani just stopped. Certainly, we have challenges as a nation. There are challenges of indiscipline, corruption, and other things. But I think the country is still doing fairly well. Yeah. The challenges that we are facing, if it was that bad, I think Nigeria would have collapsed. We would have been in a different state of affairs. So we need to recognize the good people, what our institutions are able to do, notwithstanding the challenges and limitations we are facing as a nation. And to build on that, I wholly agree, and I say that one of the major challenges of the country is our inability to build a common vision for the entire citizens that will address these challenges of ethnicity, religious differentiation, place of origin, and things like that. So it's high time our political leadership comes together across board from all parts of this country for us to sit down and have that dialogue and that engagement to say that we are Nigerians collectively. We are Nigerians that will support each other. We are Nigerians that will work patriotically, and we are Nigerians that will cooperate and work to build a better society for us now and a better society for the future. I think this is key and fundamental. With respect to some of the comments, one of the commentators from Kaduna, we spoke about what we did to try to get peaceful elections, to try to engage the citizens, to try to engage the electorate, and to hold the political parties and the political candidates accountable in their utterances, in their actions during campaigns. That was basically what we addressed. And we said that collective action, not only by the Kaduna State Peace Commission, not only by the Kaduna State government, but from numerous civil society organizations, from our religious leaders across the two faiths. The Christian Association of Nigeria, the Jamaatul Nasrul Islam, played fundamental roles with a lot of our religious scholars under the platform that our key religious leaders in Kaduna established, known as the House of Kaduna Family. We collectively came together and said, this is what we want. We want peaceful campaigns, we want peaceful elections, and we have to hold our political class accountable to ensure that. And with that, we were able to do that. The youth group that would have fomented trouble, we engaged them and reoriented them, created a new awareness, and gave them a new way of operations that was much more beneficial to them and that will ensure more peaceful campaigns and more peaceful election processes. And these are some of the innovative ways. And if you look at one of the slogans, especially from our leaders, but former heads of state, Ibrahim Babangida, General Olusegun Obasanjo, and Yakubu Gowon, which was aired here. They said, let's use our brains. The youth of Nigeria, our future is in our hands. Let's collectively use our brains, use our initiatives, use our innovations to build a better Nigeria. And we can build a better Nigeria by developing a sound democratic culture. And what we expect from the political parties is that they must evolve a leadership and a governance system for the political parties that will ensure the growth and survival of democracy and adoption of the fundamental tenets of democratic practice within their political parties that will help democracy to grow in this country.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Salih Mohammed, Executive Vice Chairman, Kaduna State Peace Commission, joined us from our Jos studios. Thank you for being part of tonight's program. Thank you. All right, let's go over to Engineer Yaba Gisani, Chairman Interparty Advisory Council, who is on Zoom from Kano. Your closing comments quickly in just a couple of minutes, your closing comments.
Well, thank you, Siri, and also I'd like to thank Comrade Ezenwa and Engineer Kelani and the last speaker, because they hit the nail on the head. It is about attitudinal. And like you know, we at IPAC, we have discovered what I'm sure most of them have talked about, which is the issue of the behavior of the average citizen of this country towards good governance. You see, the Constitution has provided a mechanism that would have made the system to work to the expectation of an average Nigerian, which is to deliver. That is the dividends of democracy I will talk about. But what have you found today? Nigerians are by the day, losing, the confidence that dividend democracy will come to them, and this is by the attitude, of our elected leaders. That's why at IPAC we have introduced what we call peer review mechanism, because we discovered that the mechanism put in place by the Constitution in creating the National Assembly legislature at the national level, and also the subnational level, the state legislatures, and then the National Assembly. That system has failed. So what have we done? We said that let us now create a situation where you have competition amongst particularly the governors, so that they will not be forced to deliver these, divisions of democracy, because when they are competing among themselves and they are being given award, those who have performed credibly, then perhaps that will make up for what we have lost in the institution that is supposed to force the governor or force the president at national level to now keep to the promise of democracy itself. So that's why we did not stop only at introducing something that would check the failure of the system during elections, but also in governance. We are also bringing up this peer review mechanism, which is done internationally all over the world. It's not only in Nigeria, and it is done to ensure that you get the results, from whatever system you have put in place. So we believe, like I said from the beginning, we will get it right, but it takes time. It's a process. It's a social problem. It takes a process. It takes time. So democracy in Nigeria will work because we have seen the failures and we are providing solutions. So we are only appealing to Nigerians to be patient, and we'll get it right, definitely.
All right. Thank you so much, Engineer Yaba Gisani, Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, joined us from Kano Biazum. Thank you so much. And to conclude, Ezewagu, quickly.
I think
30 seconds.
Yes, INEC has the responsibility to sanction its erring officials. Those officials that have decided to bring bad name to it has to be exposed, named and shamed, and then so that it will be seen clearly that it is not a collective thing by the institution to subvert this democracy. Secondly is the fact that citizens themselves do not need to glory in the things that should make us feel ashamed. We can't continue to sell our votes and at the same time stultify the ability to even ask government for accountability. And that for me is the lesson to go forward in all of this.
All right, so that does it for this program. I always say no one program can capture all the issues at stake. So I'd like to thank.
Did they allow me to say something?
Well, you started the closing comments.
No, I was thinking that I would talk about the renewed hope and for the Labour to call off his strike in the national interest. Because of one man, they cannot shut the whole country. We are mobilizing. If they continue, we'll chase them away. I'm telling you.
Well, we've run out of time on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Kaladi Mohammed, the DG Confederation of APC Support Groups. Thank you so much. And Ezewa Wagu, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms. Thank you. That concludes our program. We thank you for being part of it. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Thanks for staying with us.